Hey everyone! In today's video, I'll be crafting some adorable wooden trays using mostly Dollar Tree supplies. I absolutely love how all of these turned out, and I hope you do too. So let's get started. For the first project, I'll be making a basket tray. I'll be using this raffia grass skirt from Dollar Tree. Now this is just raffia, so if you already have some raffia on hand, then you can definitely just go with that. The raffia is attached to a jute string. There's a little knot on the end of it, so I just snip that off and then I slide out the raffia. There's a little kind of a knot in the center of each strand. So to remove it, I just gently pull each end. I'll be braiding this with 3 on each strand to add some thickness to the braid, but you can definitely do more. While I'm braiding, I'll be continuing to glue the raffia at the end to create a long braided rope. So to braid, I tape down at the top 3 strands of 3 and I do a very loose braid. I do start out with a tighter braid at first, as you can see, but I thought it was just a bit too thin, so I did loosen it up a bit. Then when I ran out of raffia, I instead just glued the strands individually with a school glue, and that just blended together nicely. So I just keep continuing to braid the raffia. I did end up using most of it, but I do leave 12 of them aside, which I'll be using to make the handles of the tray. For the base of the tray, I'll be using this wood round from Dollar Tree. I'll be gluing the braided raffia on top, so first I need to mark the center, and that will be my starting point. I just put some hot glue in the center of the wood round, and I place the end of the braided raffia on top, and then I just wind the raffia rope going in a circle. I also make sure to add hot glue underneath the raffia as I'm going. Now as I'm winding it around and looking at it, I think it would have also looked really nice if I added more per strand, maybe 6 to 8 for a thicker and tighter braid. But with that said, I am loving how this is looking so far. Now I don't want to glue this all the way to the edge just yet. I do make sure to leave about an inch or so of the wood exposed. As far as the 12 strands I set aside, I go ahead and braid them with 4 strands on each, making it a bit tighter than before, and this will make the handles. I glue one end of that on the wood, and then I determine how long I want the handles to be, and then I glue the other side of the handles down. And then I glue the other handle on the opposite side, making sure it's cut to the same size. Once the handles are on, I just continue gluing down the braided rope until it reaches the end. Now I want the tray to have sides, so I take the extra raffia and I wrap it around the edge, stacking layers on top of each other as I go. I'm able to go about 4 times around, and I just keep an eye on where I started winding it on top, and I make sure that the end doesn't go beyond that area so that the sides are even. And finally, I want the handles to be standing upright and not laying flat, and so I just hot glue them onto the sides. And there you have it. You can place a little faux plant or greenery or a cute candle arrangement. I love how this turned out. For this DIY, I'll be using this long rectangle hanging wall shelf from Dollar Tree, and I'll just be using the MDF board for this project. I'll also be using one of the stencils in this winter pack from Amazon. I really like the look of the row of snowflakes, and I thought the size was perfect for the wood. I will be stenciling on the snowflakes with white chalk paint from Folk Art, so just tape the stencil down right in the center of the wood. I dip the stencil brush into the paint and then dab it on a paper towel to remove the excess paint. You really want the brush to be kind of dry to prevent bleeding, so I just stencil that on, applying the paint in light, even pressure. You can stipple or swirl. I like to do both. Now you can certainly use any stencil you prefer. You can do flowers or hearts or some wording. We're still in the winter season, so I'm still loving the snowflakes. I want to cover the holes on the ends, so I trimmed down a paint stir stick. so that I have 2 to the height of the wood. To match the snowflakes, I paint them with the same white chalk paint. And I'm just going to paint the top and the sides. Since I'll be gluing these on the wood, I leave the bottom unpainted. I'm also painting 4 craft cubes white. I got these at Dollar Tree. They came in a large pack. And these are going on the bottom of the wood board just to give it a little height. I take a little sanding sheet and I lightly distress the wood as well as the cubes, focusing mainly on the edges. I really love that distress detail. Then I just glue the paint stick down, one on each end. And then I turn it over and glue the craft cubes on the corners. I want to add some handles, so I cut some nautical rope to the length that I want the handles to be. To clean up the ends and make it look more polished, I wrap some jute string around them, no more than an inch. And then I just run it through a candle lighter to remove any fibers sticking out. I hot glue the handles on each end, and this DIY is done. Okay, for this project, I'll be using this wood board from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to add some color with this water-based stain in the shade Special Walnut. So I'm just using a little cloth to apply the stain. I apply it on top and on the sides, and then once that's on all over, I wipe it down to remove any excess stain. I thought the wood could use some stenciling, so I'm going to be stenciling a beautiful pattern. This stencil pack is from Walmart. It comes with several designs, and I'll be using this one. I really like this pattern. It looks so beautiful on wood. I'll be using white chalk paint. So first, I tape down the stencil right in the center. I just tape it down on the sides. And then I dip my brush in the paint and I offload any excess paint on a paper towel, and this will help prevent the paint from bleeding underneath the stencil. And then I just apply the paint with a brush going in circular motions. I also like stippling the brush, especially on narrow areas. So just continue applying the paint, making sure to offload or dab out the excess paint on the brush before stenciling. Once I'm done, I remove the stencil before it completely dries. I want to stencil the whole top surface, so I just reposition it to the left and I'm just trying to match the sides, although I do want a little gap between the stencil. And then I just apply the stencil, making sure to dab out the excess paint before stenciling. Once that's done, I place a stencil on the final side, trying to match the distance. I just matched it as best as I can. I don't think it was exactly even, but it was fine. It turned out beautiful. Once that dries completely, I'm going to be buffing on some clear wax to protect it. So you want to make sure to seal it with your preferred sealer. For the legs, I'll be using these wood pieces. These are from Dollar Tree. I believe these were wooden angels, and these came in a nice little pack. So I just glue that to the bottom, one on each corner. I use a little wood block to make sure the distance to the edge is even on all corners. And I'm using wood glue for a stronger hold. I do flip it over before it dries completely, and I place some objects on top of the wood, and then I give that some time to dry completely. And this super easy DIY is done. This DIY is going to be a quick one. I'll be using one of these beaded wood rounds from Dollar Tree, and 3 of these wooden dice from Dollar Tree. This came in a pack of 3, which was exactly the amount I needed. Now this already had a nice dark stain, but the color wasn't evenly applied, especially on the beads. So I'm just going to repaint over it with this gorgeous brown metallic paint from Craftsmart. You can definitely paint this whatever color you want. So I brush on the paint and the color goes on so beautifully, and it has a really nice metallic shimmer. Now I make sure the beads get a complete coat of paint. Then I paint the dice. Since I will be gluing this on the bottom of the wood round, I only paint the sides. If possible, I always prefer gluing bare wood to bare wood. So I turn the wood brown over, I remove that little plastic sticker, and I apply some glue on the dice and I glue that down. I make sure to space the dice evenly. I also use a tower block to help with the spacing from the edge. Before it dries, I turn it over and I place some objects on top until it dries completely. And the super easy DIY is done, and I really love how it turned out. This DIY is another quick one. I'll be using these Dollar Tree plastic rectangle trays. I love the line pattern on these, and these trays are perfect as is for centerpieces, but I want to add some wood element to it. I'll be using these giant popsicle sticks. I get these at Walmart, and these are about 10 inches in length. First, I'm going to measure and mark the length. I want to trim it so that the popsicle sticks will sit nicely flat on top of the tray. I'm going to be using 10 of these. Now you can paint these any color. I'm going to stain them in the shade Special Walnut. So I'm just using a little cloth to apply that, and then I wipe out the excess. I do leave the bottom or one side unstained because I will be gluing this to the tray. To attach, I'm going to use a combo of hot glue and E6000. If you're liking this video so far, will you consider giving it a thumbs up? It does help support my channel, allowing me to bring more DIYs your way. Now I did have to trim off a small amount on one of the popsicle sticks for it to fit. 10 was just a bit too wide. Now you can leave this as is, but I thought I would add some stenciling in the center. This is completely optional, especially since you're going to be putting objects on top, but I thought it would just add a nice detail. I decided to elevate the tray, so I added some wood cubes underneath. And this quick and easy DIY is done. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, bye!